Welcome.
I'm Gaia.
And I'm Angelica.
Today we're speaking to Jubilee from The Good Grain.
Let's find out how she built it.
Jubilee, can you tell us a bit about your company?
Sure. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on here. Very excited to tell you more. So we make overnight oats. They are 100% natural, no additives, no preservatives, free from gluten, dairy, refined sugars. So 100% natural goodness in every jar, suitable any time of day.
Amazing. That was the best pitch ever.
That was literally the best pitch I've
Best
ever had
pitch
in my
ever.
life.
Not that ever.
You killed
Ever.
it. So, Jubilee, what's
Stress. I have to think of something.
what's on your mind today?
How much money I've made on Vinted.
Yes.
Oh my God, that just came out of my
yes.
mouth. I feel like I should have made it
Yes.
business related.
I love it.
Oh my
I
God.
love it.
Obsessed with
It's an
vintage.
addiction. It is an
No,
addiction.
don't get me started on my online shopping
Sometimes I
addiction.
think I get more excited about a Vinted sale even than I do about a Good Grain sale.
We're going to begin with some this or that questions.
Pressure.
No pressure. You'll be great.
Pressure.
Right. This is an easy one.
Okay.
Speak or listen.
Don't speak.
I had a feeling you would say
For some
that.
reason I thought that as well.
I'm trying to
I
be a
thought that
better
as well.
listener.
Nature or nurture?
Ooh, nurture.
Why?
Well, we could go on here a while. I think nurture because we are in control of who we want to be and who we want to be. So the nurture element is almost in control of the nature. You know, you have to nurture yourself. Maybe it's quite a personal response. I believe that I am nurture over nature.
Yeah. Yeah. We're looking for personal. That's exactly what we're looking for. Yeah.
Like, I think I wouldn't be who I am today if I did that based on nature. I think it took me a lot of years of
Learning and training and development.
understanding, reflecting on the past and learning who you want to be. And I believe through that, I almost nurtured myself to be who I am
Being
today,
self-aware.
rather than who I would be naturally.
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay. Mind or matter?
Mind.
Fast or slow?
Fast.
Instagram.
Definitely fast.
Instagram or TikTok?
TikTok. Because it's fast.
Okay,
Because it's
interesting.
fast.
Yeah,
It's fast.
it
TikTok,
is
just
fast,
quick.
Dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Love it.
This gets serious again. Fate or free will?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, that one's a bit tough.
Fate or free will? Both.
But interesting. Why?
Both.
You think they're interlinked?
Because fate, I do believe that, some people have good luck, some people have bad luck. Things happen, opportunities happen, you get a lucky break. But then free will, I believe in because you could get that lucky break, but it's about how you choose to respond to it
Yeah.
that affects the outcome. So I do believe in both.
Okay, so spontaneity or routine?
Oh my God, spontaneity.
Logic or intuition?
Oh, both. Both. I'm so insanely both. I'm like 100% of both.
You know what I like about this interview so far is you're the only person that's been like both. I
that's
want
a
both.
new answer.
I want both.
I would define myself as like 100% logic and also 100% intuition.
Yeah.
I'm a very, very intuitive person.
As you should.
But I always need the answer to make sense.
Yeah.
Or else I don't let it go.
Well, that's the best mix. That's exactly it.
Teams or Slack?
Teams. I'm old school. Can't do all this trendy stuff.
Move on.
I feel like I know what you're going to say to this. Let's see if I get this right. Control or surrender?
Control. I'm trying to surrender. I'm trying to learn how to surrender.
I think that's
It's a tough
that's a
juggling
nurture
act.
one. I think you
It's
got to
really
people
tough.
have to learn to
My
surrender.
nature is control, but my nurture is surrender. We're getting
Jubilee.
deep already. It's only the first 5 minutes.
This is just it.
Question or answer?
Answer and question. Oh God, both again. I can't. I'm going to have to pick one. I ask a lot of questions, but I also give a lot of answers.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
Polished or raw?
Raw.
Stop or start?
Start.
Give or take?
I feel like I have to say give because take is rude.
No, take is very fair.
Take is fair.
Take is fair.
Girls got to do what girls got to do.
Both.
But, well,
Fair. Think or do?
Do.
spectator or participant?
Participant.
Macro or micro?
You have to do both when you're running a business.
Yeah.
You've got to do both alongside each other.
Yeah.
One doesn't help you without the other.
Final question. Ebb or flow?
Flow.
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 What is flow to you?
Oh, well, we could go on here for a while then. I actually used to listen to this guy. I forgot his name. Justin, maybe? Silver's podcasts. All he spoke about was flow and the meaning of flow. But I think flow is trusting. Trust. To me, flow means trust. It's like, just roll with it. Trust that what happens, almost like a different version of surrender, I would say.
Yeah.
It's like just being at peace with where you're at and trusting that you're in the right space at the right time.
And you felt that a lot with your business?
I've had to learn to be okay with that.
You've nurtured into it?
Yeah, really. Because at the beginning, when you're in flow, you can almost view that as a setback or as slow, you know? But the more you view it as, well, when you look at things in hindsight and you're like, that had to happen because then that happened. And if I didn't have this, then I couldn't do that. So I've learned how to sort of learn how to be in a state of flow.
In that regard, what have you experienced? What setback have you experienced the most with that, where you've had to learn just to flow into the next?
Probably in the very early days when you are trying to secure listings.
Yeah.
And you don't know how it works. I started this thinking, I'm just going to email Selfridges customer service and say, hi, I've got a great product.
You have to wing it though. You have to wing it.
Selfridges customer service always reply within 1 to 3 business days. So of course they're going to reply to me in 1 to 3 business days. But slowly you learn it doesn't work like that. And you can wait months and months and months. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that was a setback, but that was definitely the first time I really had to lean into flow. And, one day they're going to get back to you. One day they're going to realize that you've got the right product for them. Could be in a week. It could be in 8 months. Could be in 2 years. But you lean into it.
What would you do differently if you could go back in time?
Well, it's hard to answer that because I think I've learned from even if something's been not a mistake, but if, by saying I would do something differently means I wouldn't have taken the learning that I got from that so-called mistake. And I've learned from everything, good and bad. I would say maybe consider being a little bit more organized before I started, and maybe speaking to more people before I started. I didn't really speak to many people in the industry. I sort of started and then met people in the industry.
So you didn't research in that way?
Nothing. I literally started. And over time you meet people and you talk to them. But I think even if I would have given myself a few weeks at the very beginning, tapping into the industry, understanding how it worked, I think I would have had less surprises.
Yeah.
I would have known more what to expect, whereas I went in blind to this industry.
But do you think a bit of that naivety benefited you?
100%. Oh my God, I would never, ever, ever do now what I did back then.
Yeah.
I look back and oh my God, I cringe. Like even the way that I used to message people, like buyers, the things I used to say. But I think that naivety, I had nothing to lose back then.
Yeah.
So, you can afford to be as rogue as you want. You can afford to be as bold as you want. You're a nobody when you first start. You haven't even got any brand awareness yet, or at least I didn't at the very, very beginning. Whereas now you have more to lose. People know you. You have a reputation.
Of course. Do you have a mentor now?
I've had mentors over the years. Now I don't currently. Because you build them. Your friends in the industry become your mentors.
Yeah.
So, whereas at the beginning, you almost have to seek a specific one. Whereas now, there's so many amazing platforms available and groups, I'm in groups, I'm in platforms, I'm in female founder groups, I'm in food industry groups. You can just write one question, someone will get back to you.
Did you find the world just sort of exploded, like it opened up when...
My world changed. Completely and utterly changed. And I look back on those first 6 months and I can't remember anything that they
Just
were a
a
blur.
haze. Yeah.
From day one until I would say 5 months. All of that to me is just like one time period, one day.
What would you say, was there a moment in particular where you realized I made it?
Probably when you secure your first listing, because then all of a sudden you validated the brand. Whereas before that, it's kind of all your friends and family just sort of like saying, yes, this is an amazing idea. And, they're just being nice because they're not going to turn around to you and say that it's a bad idea. And also they buy from you because they want to support you. But when you secure your first listing and actually you're selling to strangers and people who don't know you, that's a moment. because then you realize people out there really love your product.
Yeah.
That must feel different as well when somebody who has zero connection to you validates it.
Yeah. And it never gets old. You know, I feel like that now. Sometimes even I'm walking in stores and you see someone just pick it up off the shelf and I still get excited. You know, I'll be out and I'll be like,
That's amazing.
What's the best customer review you've had? Do you monitor that closely? Do you listen to your customers?
yes. It was, I think, last year, and a customer messaged us to say that they were on, I think it was maybe like they were going on a family weekend trip. She'd purchased loads of jars, and she was going to take them with on their family weekend away. I don't know how many kids they had or how big the family was, but she messaged me to say it was quite a long drive. They were going somewhere in the UK. And they were half an hour, 45 minutes onto their journey, and she realised that she left them at home and she was in the car with kids. She said the car was manic, and she made her husband turn back around to go back home because she didn't want to go away for the weekend without her prepared jars.
How could you blame her?
And I was like, wow, I don't even know you. And like, you're my new favourite person, you know? And it's hearing
That's
stuff
a
like
win.
that where it's not just something they fancy, but it's something people can't live without
It's
it.
become a part of their lives.
It just, you know, there's nothing like it, hearing something like that.
So how many units are you selling now? What level are you at?
We are we're still overseeing all of production ourselves. We are moving to outsource
You
it
also
next month.
do not have to expose this if you don't want to.
No,
And
I don't mind. I mean, we are
Keeping it raw.
Yeah, we are
Keeping it
now
raw.
doing tens of thousands a month.
That's
so I would
amazing.
say, 20 to 30,000 units a month.
And when did you launch?
Towards the end of 2021, so 2.5 years ago.
You think COVID?
3 years ago.
Do you think COVID helped you grow quickly, or?
I think I'm the only person that started their small business after COVID. I wish I would have started this in COVID because it would have given me something to do. I didn't. This was after COVID.
So why did you start it?
Well, I think I started it because the people actually wanted it. See, I was eating this way for years before the people.
My followers.
The people. I had a huge passion for health and wellness before it was trending. So now, you know, you talk about stuff like this and it's second nature. But there was a time 6, 7, 8 years ago where, you know, if you wanted something, you had to go to like the Rogue Health shop that was like a 20-minute drive away. You know, you couldn't buy these kind of ingredients in Waitrose. You know, you could just buy plain oats and that was it. But I had a massive passion for what we eat affects how we feel. And I learned, you know, I became educated. I love learning. I love trialing things. And I became, I would say, obsessed with oats because you could do anything with oats.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a blank canvas. You know, I could put in my oats in a bowl and then I could have 5, 10, 15 other ingredients in that bowl that, you know, you put in some milk and you put in some honey or some peanut butter and it tastes good. But you ensure that you have all of this goodness in the bowl. And so I used to... it's a bit embarrassing. And again, it was all completely anonymous, but I basically set up an Instagram page and it was just for my pictures of my porridge. Yeah. And it wasn't in, you know, I know there are a lot of like food influencers and stuff like that. It was nothing to do with that. I didn't tell anyone. I think I told 3 of my friends, literally 3 of my friends. I was like, you can't tell anyone. It didn't have my name on it. It was just my porridge bowls.
Passion project.
I loved it. You know, because I was learning about all these different ingredients and all these different ways to flavour them. And you learn how to do things. And, you know, there I was with my 100 followers and, you know, I got all excited. And then, that was just how I ate every day. And everyone used to make fun of me because, you know, nobody was really eating this way. Nobody even knew what half of these ingredients were. Flaxseed, chia seeds, you know, no one knew how to prepare chia seeds back in the day. They would sprinkle them on top of their yogurt and that's not the way to do it. But I'm not here to judge. And then after... So I was always the odd one out because, you know, I was there like all passionate about like my healthy stuff. And after lockdown, I started getting calls from friends and everybody was feeling terrible. Everybody was getting back to work. And I think over lockdown, people had started understanding more about how to look after themselves. So I would get calls from a couple of friends. Oh, you know, make me one of these things that you're making for breakfast. And I was over the moon because finally, you know, like people weren't looking at me that I was different. They actually wanted it. I got all excited and I would like prep overnight oats for my friends in the morning. And then, you know, slowly, people were saying like, we would buy this. And I was like, no way would I, everyone's been taking the piss out of me for all of this time. There's no way people are going to start buying this.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, you know what? Bit of banter, I'll put something up on Instagram, like a little thing, buy my jars for X amount.
Yeah.
I hadn't worked out costings. I didn't even know what I was going to do. Put something up. I thought maybe 10 of my friends would respond. I purchased a pack of 24, I think it was, glass jars from Amazon that came on Prime the next day.
Yeah.
A couple of kilograms of oats.
Yeah.
And I was like, the rest of the bits I've probably got in my kitchen somewhere, like in the back of my cupboard. Put it up on Instagram. It blew up. I was like, oh my God, I've only got 20 jars on Amazon. I didn't even have ingredients, right? I hadn't even like worked out costings. I was like, what have I done? But
As in you put a thing up saying buy here?
I put a thing up being like, hi, I'm selling overnight oats, this price, collection, at this time, or delivery at this time. Honestly, I think I didn't even know how to use Canva back then. Like, I'm not even sure how I designed it. And if I show you a picture, oh my God, it was like grey. There was no branding. It looked miserable. So I'm still not sure what people chose.
Well, the product speaks for itself.
I called my cousin, my younger cousin, who's a bit more Gen Z. And I said, hey, I'm going to make a few jars of overnight oats at home. Can you come over and just take a few pictures? And she came around, she took a few pictures on her iPhone. And that's what I uploaded. And that's what people were buying off. And I was like, it was literally my cousin on her iPhone.
Yeah.
So then I did that. It blew up. I kept purchasing more things every single day. And then I was like, wow, this is actually turning into something. Maybe this could be more than, a little bit of a side hustle. So I sat down and within 24 hours, I had my costings worked out. I had wholesalers, kind of organized. I created, my companies, all the things that you sort of need to do.
Yeah.
Got branding sorted, got my website put up. And within a couple of weeks, that was it.
Yeah.
And then it was word of mouth and I was ruthless. I think from launching... Oh, and I did it. What I did was I did it on that porridge page. That porridge page that I started is still my Instagram page. I changed the name.
You changed the name.
I archived all my old porridge pictures because I was like, I've got 100 followers. I'm basically famous. And I had 100 followers on my porridge account.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it took off from there. And since then, the good grain has been the good grain.
So as a solo founder, what do you struggle most with? What do you sometimes wish you could just delegate to someone else?
Everything that goes on in my mind. And I feel like that's what you get with the co-founder.
Yeah.
Someone
to bounce ideas with.
Not just to, as a founder, your brain is just, it doesn't stop, because if you're not thinking about the present, you're thinking about what's next. If you're not thinking about what's next, you're thinking about the past, or it doesn't stop. And it's natural, if you don't have that, either I'm really unhealthy or so, but you have to be obsessed with your business.
Of course.
Because what are you doing it for otherwise? So I think having a co-founder means that there's no limits as to how much you can sort of like put on them, no matter how filled your brain is.
Your brain is.
Because you can't do that with friends. You would exhaust them. So you learn how to manage it yourself and it's tough.
You share a vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your motivation?
Eating better food system. I feel my motivation every day when I'm out and about and I'm on the go and I can't find what I need. And, I have to compromise on something and then it doesn't make me feel good. And then I'm exhausted and then there's a butterfly effect. So I experience that and that gives me motivation.
So you develop the recipes yourself? That's product development is something you take care of.
My recipes haven't changed since the first day that I launched.
Okay.
Which is crazy. The oats we sell that are our best sellers are genuinely what I was making for myself. The only thing I did was put a title on them. Our first flavour that we launched, which was maple tahini. And
maple tahini.
Tahini.
I don't even know what that is.
I really want to try it. Oh. I really want to try it.
Guys, obviously I'm going to send you a box.
We want
I was only going to carry them with me today, but it was so far on the train and the box was so heavy. And then I was going to send them here and I was like, but I know you guys
not
are
going to lie, Jubilee. I want my goodies. Where are they?
They're going to be waiting for your house when you go home today.
You know the one that I do want is the protein one. That I'm so here for that because it is a nightmare trying to hit my protein goals. Like it genuinely is a nightmare.
And if you do, it's probably coming filled with additives and preservatives. It's hard to fill with natural ingredients protein.
Hugely. And when I was thinking about Ella with Griddle as well, she has a whole protein one too. like this is such a solution to a protein problem where you're not hitting that protein after the gym, and you're not getting to that level you need to get
and
to.
everyone's over protein smoothies. Like they're boring now.
Really, but also
you know?
they're inconvenient.
Yeah.
Like I don't have time to go home and make a
freezing,
smoothie,
and it's
cold,
freezing, you know?
and it's cold, and also is there not some variation? So when I saw that on your website, I was like, that is a solution to a problem.
I will send you some. I actually love the griddle protein waffles. I mean, I love all their waffles, but the protein one just makes you feel like you're doing something better for yourself.
Makes you feel good.
Exactly.
Makes you feel good.
So the protein one actually came from customer requests. You know, we had our core range, and we did a lot of trial and errors with like feedback and with different, you know, asking customers, is this what you would want? Is this what you would want? And it came as our most popular request, bring out a protein jar, and it was the hardest one to get right. No flavour of overnight oats is hard for me to get right. You know, I after all this time I can experiment with any flavour, and it's the part that I love the most, because that's kind of what I was doing before I even launched the business. You know, that was
so
my
organic.
joy.
So authentic with it.
Something fun, something that you would never think that you would be able to have for breakfast, you know? Like we tried to put really decadent titles in our flavour SKUs because, you know, that's the whole fun of it. You know, otherwise people just assume that something natural and something good for you is boring or a compromise. And, you know, it shouldn't be that way. So we really wanted to get the protein flavour right. And it was the hardest flavour to get right compared to all the others, because protein without sweeteners, you know, when you're having a protein shake or a smoothie, it's flavored, you know, it's flavored. It's got a whole lot of stuff in it. And if you look on the back of the pack, not all of them, but most of them, you know, it's like this long with like more than one sweetener. You know, I always say, no problem, have sweeteners, but why is there 4 different types of sugar / sweeteners on the back of the packet? You know, just stick to one. So I set myself a challenge to try and create a protein flavour that used 100% pure natural pea protein without that chalky aftertaste, without the bitter taste, without, you know, just tasting like our normal jars.
So where does the sweet flavour come from in that particular product?
Bananas.
What's bananas? This isn't a secret.
No, it's on the recipe, bananas.
Or you're revealing a secret.
Bananas, but it's hard to get the ratios right. You know, you don't want to have too much bananas, then it's too high in sugar. You know, you want to balance out the carbs to the oats. We try to balance them all. So it's about balancing the label in a way that also balances the taste. It's hard.
When you say we, who are you talking about?
I have a production team, and so they help me with that. I have help with recipe development, because otherwise I'll just be bringing out flavours every other week because it's what I enjoy doing. So, you know, I come up with the core ideas. We have someone who then takes a look, sees which one is the most commercially viable. You know, you got to test things out also in scalable formats. So yeah.
How big is the team?
Well, we've got right now, until now, actually, I should say, we have been overseeing all production, distribution, logistics on our own. So a lot of the people that we have in the team go towards there. So we have up to 10 people in production. We have help with ops and distribution, but we are planning to now outsource all of that, which means there is going to be room to actually expand the team in a way that's going to be more exciting.
Okay.
And you don't have investors?
No, we are taking on that journey later this year, which should be exciting.
Okay.
Scary, but exciting.
That's so exciting.
Scary, but exciting. So I always emphasize the scariness part.
Yeah. So you're refining your pitch now to pitch to investors.
Yeah.
What's that like? What's the process like?
What's the pitch? Give us the pitch.
Well, it's a deck.
What
do you mean?
We're putting a lot of pressure on her now.
The pitch.
It's funny, I did actually do a 60-second pitch to
remember
James
you
Watt.
said.
Yeah. And I wish I could tell you that I prepared for it, and I hope he doesn't see this, or maybe I hope he does see this, because
I think he should.
He loves a bit.
Should.
Don't prepare, be disorganized, just go, just do. So if he's watching this, I think I turned up. Everyone is there reading off their sheet of paper, and I got there, and I'm like, why don't I prepare anything?
Wait, to who?
To James Watt.
To James Watt.
He offered this thing on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, saying that he was, he did this pitch and pint event, and you had to apply, and he chose X amount of people to come and pitch, but the pitch had to be in under 60 seconds. And we got 48 hours notice, and it was to get a spot on the show that was, if you win, you get £2 million investment from him and him on your, like, as a mentor. So I was like, I'm just going to apply, because why not? Nothing to lose. And I got chosen to go, and I rocked up, and everyone there is like preparing what they had written. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't prepared anything. But I know my business inside out, you know,
course,
your numbers inside out. What is there to prepare for? It's 60 seconds, you know, whatever you prepare, you're probably going to forget anyway. When you, 60 seconds, it's pressurizing, but somehow I did it in under 60 seconds. And then he gave us number one shout out the next day that we stood out of all of them. And I was like,
and you had no preparation.
that is why you shouldn't prepare for things.
That is why you shouldn't prepare.
Sometimes just, you know, being natural has its perks.
Did he give you any feedback?
He just said, I love
He
this
just
idea.
said, "I love it."
And he's been buying them ever since. He's been purchasing them.
Amazing.
I keep saying, stop buying them. I'll send them to you. He's like, no. And yeah, so he's like, you know, when the investment deck is ready, I'll definitely love to sit down with him, even just for feedback. You know, it's feedback like that is invaluable, especially from someone in the industry who's done it before. So,
So in terms of preparation, what is your core piece of advice to people who want to get started?
just start. Just start. You know, I actually spoke about this on LinkedIn today, and it was something that I really meant, and it took me a long time to internalize this. Action builds clarity, not the other way around. You know, you can think you know everything before you start, but ultimately your mistakes teach you what you should do. You know, customer feedback directs you into what you should be doing next. You know, you hear directly from your demographic, what do they want from you? That will teach you. Don't plan too much in advance. You know, you can, firstly, you lose the naivety, and that's the most fun part. You know, there is nothing like just not having a clue what you're doing. And then looking back and being like, wow, I accomplished that and I had no idea what I was doing. And if I would have waited to really know and really understand how to, you know, run a business in the F&B industry, it would have taken me years. You know, it's such a fast-paced industry. What you learn today is going to be different tomorrow. The data you read today is going to be different from next week. You know, you just start and learn to adapt.
Do you think it's just naivety, or do you think there's some arrogance there? Because we've spoken about this quite a bit, the concept of founders
Youthful arrogance.
needing to be youthfully arrogant.
Youthfully arrogant.
I see where you're getting at. I look back, I don't know if I would call it arrogant at the beginning. If anything, I think I was more insecure. I believed in my product so much, but you have so much to prove until you validate something. And when you have so much to prove, it might show as arrogance, but I think that's a cover for insecurity.
And at what moment were you validated? Was your product validated?
I would say listings, you know, getting into Harrods, which is, you know, the most, I would say, premium department store in London. And, you know, they came and they wanted us, you know, and then we started small and then we went bigger, and we've just launched 2 new flavours on shelf there, which, you know, the aim is also not just getting listed. You know, you want to expand and grow on the shelves, and it's hard with shelf space. But that was validation. You know, there I was, just a girl making overnight oats at home. And then, you know, I blinked and I was on the shelf in Harrods. And it's like, what? Like where? And how amazing that a department store that is only focusing, you know, on, you know, their lavish biscuits and their treats. You know, they've got the most decadent food hall in the UK, the world, whatever we say. But actually, you've got a natural product that you can now eat when you're there. You know, no nasties, no refined sugars. When could we have ever got something like that in Harrods back in the day?
So how do you work to keep that naivety, to keep that drive, without letting imposter syndrome stop you from doing what you want to do?
I think there's always an element of imposter syndrome, no matter what stage you get to. Because no matter how much you grow, you're still that person inside as when you first started. And it's good because it keeps you grounded. And it helps you feel proud of where you're at. I don't know. It's a good question. I have to think about that a bit more
Okay.
to give you a good answer.
Sit on it.
You let it mold.
How have you, so you were saying how it's completely changed your life. In what way has it changed your life? Has it changed your values? And what values would you say you have, and are they reflected in your product?
as a person or as a business?
Either one.
I don't know if we can call this a value, but I would say not help people, but make life easier for people. I think especially in this day and age, there's a lot of education that goes around, whether it be online or on Instagram, you know, in the news, and it's overwhelming. And that is part of who I've always been as a person. Because I have such a passion for it, I love to talk about health and wellness. It's my favorite topic. If somebody messages me saying, I feel like this, what do you suggest?
This is great to know. I will be coming to you.
Oh my God. And you know, if any one of my friends is listening to this, they will probably laugh because they send me like a one-liner, like, hey, I've got a bit of a headache. Like, what do you suggest? And, you know, I think they don't expect me to respond in like 4 words. You know, there I am with a 25-minute voice note. So like their 5-word question. But I love talking about it because I remember being, you know, there I was at that time having all these questions and it wasn't as widely acknowledged, all of these answers that you seek when it comes to health and wellness. And I used to have to really dig deep for answers. And it used to drive me mad because I had so many questions. You know, I had a couple of health issues back in the day and I felt quite let down by doctors because I felt that they couldn't answer any of my questions.
Yeah.
And is that why you feel you became so passionate about health?
I think it's how I started even learning about it because I was like, well, I'm going to have to educate myself. And it was just trial and error. It was just trying different things until I, you know, learned what made me feel better. Yeah. And I wish there would have been somebody there who maybe could have answered some of my questions without me having, I used to read a lot, you know, I used to Google a lot. Like I said, like I love answers, you know, I have a lot of questions, but I logic, I need something to make sense. Yeah. You know, I don't believe in fads, you know, I have to try it. I have to see the results. So I think given that that's how I've always been as a person, I believe I'm almost doing the same with the product that we sell. Because, and again, it was actually a really good piece of feedback I got at the very, very beginning of launching. So before, obviously, it became like a well-known brand. But one of my friends said to me, you know, I was giving her some samples, try out these flavours. And she was like, oh, she tasted it, delicious, what's in it? And then she stopped and she said, actually, don't worry. If you've made it, I know I can trust it. I know it's good. Because I know that you wouldn't put anything inside this that you wouldn't consume yourself.
How do you make sure that people that you don't know, the customers that you don't know, see you as trustworthy? They see the brand as trustworthy? Because it's easy to put something on a label, but I think a lot of customers feel that they can't really trust that, or they're aware that there is a whole, you know, issue in the industry with labels not being fully transparent. So how do you make sure that doesn't happen?
Repeat purchases give us that data. You know, we have a subscription model on our website, so we can see it through our subscriptions. We have I think like a 70% repeat purchase rate or something over the last few years. And my customer service, you know, it's always open. You know, ask me questions. I would love it. You know, I would love it if we got like a customer emailing in being like, I've got a couple of questions, like, can I just give you a call? And, you know, that's not the norm, but I would love that. You know, I'm happy to answer any question because so much of what is important to me went into that product. And I think it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust when you don't know who you're buying from.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, we put out surveys and I think even the protein flavour, for example, it was a direct answer to what the customer wanted. You know, same with our matcha jar. You know, I'm constantly sending out surveys. I'm constantly asking customers what their feedback is, especially people who are repeat purchasers. You know, what do you like? How can we make this better for you? You know, what is holding you back from purchasing this flavour? You know, what is holding you back, you know, to people who, you know, is it cost? Is it ingredients? What is the product for you? What does our product mean for you? Is it the convenience? Is it the quality? You know, is it... By keeping these sort of lines open with your customers, it's A, how you can give that trust, and B, how you can do better by them.
How can you communicate that on social media?
I was just about to ask that.
just saying it. Hey, DMs are open, you know, here's our survey, you know, message, let us know. Polls, asking questions.
And people love to engage with it?
Yeah. On the whole, look, the customers who you need, your customers engage with it. Maybe not the people who have been following you, but again, it brings them in. I think, you know, we had someone who is actually in the last 6 months become one of our like most subscription every single week, you know, for the last 6 months straight. And she emailed in saying, you know, she had been following us for a couple of years and she actually hadn't purchased for the first 2 years, but she kept following because something intrigued. I don't remember how she phrased it, but something intrigued her about the brand. You know, she wasn't ready to purchase, but she hadn't unfollowed. But she kept along with the journey. And obviously that, you know, she made her first purchase and now she's a regular. But she said, you know, people keep eyes on you.
That's an interesting...
You know, and it takes time for them to build trust with you.
That's an interesting like observation, because I think of myself and all these brands I'm interested in, which I'm so interested in. But it's just at what point do you go over the line and click purchase, click buy?
There's actually all this interesting like consumer psychology where when somebody walks into store and it takes them like 4 times to actually pick you up and purchase. So something like this, the first time, if they're a brand that they don't recognize or that they haven't heard of, you know, they see a new brand, you kind of just walk straight past it. The second time you walk in, and again, don't quote me on this, I'm just pretty sure I read it somewhere. And now I always wonder if I do it myself, but the second time you walk in, you know, you might look at it, you might pick it up and then you might put it back down and then you go. Then the third time, you know, you'll actually analyze the label, you know, look at how much it is. And then maybe the fourth time you're like, okay, I'm going to give this a go.
God, I thought that was just me.
I feel this especially on social media, but I think one thing that does help and one thing that people really do trust is when you have someone that you trust on social media, like an influencer or a brand ambassador speaking positively about a product. Do you work with influencers for that or with brand ambassadors?
So we've been really, really, really lucky in that, you know, you're a small business when you first start out. You know, you don't have money for like now. I mean, what people charge for UGC, it's amazing, but someone who's just starting out, you know, you can just about afford to buy yourself a coffee, let alone start. You know, it's all about the necessities. But we had a really, really, really good response to influencers who agreed to take all of our products, and we never paid for influencer marketing. And we got our products out to on any influencer that I wanted. And sometimes it took months. You know, there would be influencers that I was working on for months. Never paid for it, never paid for PR, never paid for influencer marketing. And we got it because people appreciate the story. You know, you're not... I would say to people, listen, like I'm obsessed with you. This is what I used to say to influencers. Like I follow you every single day. Wish I had the money to be able to pay you, you know, the crazy money that you charge for one post. Hopefully one day I'll be there. But in the meantime, like, please, 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 can I just send you my jars? And they appreciate the honesty.
And people want to help each other. I feel like hustlers want to help hustlers. And like, that's what you were doing.
And I think it's just about, you know... cut all the, you know, hi, you know, like making it all sweet and friendly, like just be real. And that's how I used to communicate
authentic.
with them. I'm obsessed with you. It would be a dream if you could try my jars. Beg you. I'll literally drop them around myself, please. And like, you know, you don't need to send these whole formal, dear this one, like, all this is my business. They don't need to, they can see what your business is, you know, keep it short, keep it authentic. And they laugh, they appreciate it.
But also, I think if they care about their audience, which they obviously do, when they love your product, they want to, you know, they want to speak about it to their audience.
Yeah, and I think they appreciate that you're not just asking them for the sake of their followers. You know, I probably wouldn't do that to people whose audiences wouldn't really align with our product. You know, you've also got to have a little bit of like integrity whilst you're doing it, you know?
So you were looking for influencers that had the same values as your product, that you thought they might like, that you would have similar audience.
Yeah, exactly. People who are generally posting about health and wellness, things that they love, people with a good audience. And influencers really, really helped build up the brand in the first year. They were the only way that I got the brand out to a wider audience.
I love this because, again, this was your intuition. This wasn't, somebody didn't say to you, find somebody who has the same values as you.
I never gave up. You know, I would find a way. I would always find a way. I'd find someone who worked at their old publisher's manager, something, get it there, put it in the back of the car in case maybe they were going the following day. I mean, you go to crazy, crazy lengths, but it's all worth it for when you get that post.
And your mind was going to every single corner of, right, how can I reach these people? How can I get to them?
Beyond. And it's fun because, you know, I think I
investigator.
drove like and it was probably like a 40-minute drive to Surrey. I think I did this in my first year because I didn't know how to deliver the products to Surrey, and then I got stuck on the motorway and it took me like 4 hours to get there, and I could have just turned around and I didn't turn around. I was like, I'm going to keep going because I've got the influencer. There's nothing like it. You know, that's the part of the naivety at the beginning. Every tiny thing you do feels like the biggest deal in the world. You know, having one influencer put me on their story in my first year felt like I had won the lottery.
So it's quite exhilarating.
It's a high. It's a massive, massive high.
But then you have those lows as well.
Super, super, super low lows. It's part of it.
Of course.
You know, the highs make it worth it. And the highs help you push through those lows. But you definitely need an element of resilience.
Of course.
To be doing this, to be able to fight those lows, because it's hard.
And what was your lowest low?
Don't think really a specific moment. I think it ebbs and flows, you know, and it's like mood outside of business. You know, you wake up in the morning, you have a good day. You wake up the next day, you have a bad day. So sometimes you handle things better.
And are there just days where when sometimes you're just like, oh my God, this is difficult. Like, this is hard. And that's that's
you
the
wake
low.
up, why am I doing this? I can't do this anymore. Why am I doing this? And then an hour later, you know, oh, you know, this happened. Look, we got this piece of feedback. Like, it's like, I think any founder just like, or at least I do, I just, you know, round and round. You never know what's going to happen from 1 hour to the next in terms of mood.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exactly what we're experiencing
we go
with
through
this.
that
I think I'm like
often.
that in my
Podcast.
personal life.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Outside of
Fair
business,
enough.
you know, you never know what side of the bed you're going to wake up on.
I
You're only
think
human.
one thing that we always talk a lot about is how we come up with ideas and how we're able to know when we need to pursue an idea versus when we need to let it go. Because when your mind is so active and you have so many thoughts, how do you pick the right one? And what makes that the right one?
And so we've sort of developed this idea of the graveyard of ideas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Where we literally have a box called the graveyard. And we have an idea which we get super excited about, and we think about it for like 8 days, and it becomes our life. And then we go,
Literally
this is
our
just
life.
not going to work. Like, this is not going to work. So we put it in the graveyard, and it's there because one day we might resurrect it. It might come back.
It's nice.
Do you have your graveyard? Do you have ideas which
Please
you
tell
become
us you do.
obsessed with?
I mean, yes and yes, because I think that is just the nature. You're always thinking what's
So then you're like,
next.
this isn't working. And then you move on.
You always think, you're always thinking what's next, you know. And as much as I think any founder will agree to this, as much as, you know, they say, you know, take a step back and be grateful at where you're at, and, you know, look around and see what you've accomplished. It's like, yeah, we all love to say that, but really, what's next? You know, what's tomorrow? What's next month? What can I do next? You know, I bring out a new flavour, and the day it launches, right, what flavour can I do next?
Well, I guess it can only ever be what's next, right?
So the ideas are always sort of floating.
Always floating, yeah.
But I don't know. I would love to say I could have this graveyard of ideas, because it's a nice idea, and I might again do that in my personal life. But again, what I experienced from the Good Grain is that I had no idea if this idea was going to work out until I did it. You know, it didn't really exist. You know, it hadn't really scaled before in supermarket shelves. Yes, you know, you had your overnight oats in cafes, but they were, you know, mass produced. Cheap, quick, you know, filled with a million additives, you know, there wasn't real data on what I was currently trying to do. So there was nothing telling me if it was going to work or not.
But I feel that's the beauty of it, though, because you don't know if an idea is going to work until you try.
But it's like with your ideas box, you don't know.
You don't know until you try.
don't know if it's going to work. That will work, that will not. I mean, you know, look at all these massive companies that have, you know, look at Uber, look at Deliveroo. Why was no one doing this before them?
So I guess it's being comfortable with
the unknown.
Being comfortable with failing and embarrassing yourself.
Oh God, you embarrass yourself a lot. The whole thing is, there was a time I woke up every single morning just like cringing, you know, cringing at that email you send, cringing at that pitch that you do. And
this is the story of our lives.
It is. But, you know, and that's why I always say resilience is key. You know, resilience, the power to just feel that cringe, you know, feel the pressure, feel the lows, feel the highs, and ride through it.
And let the cringe just wash off.
Yeah. And I still have that now, you know, when you send an email, when you get ignored from a buyer or an influencer and you've got to send it again and you're like, oh. God,
it cuts. It hurts ego.
It does.
It cuts.
And I always say this. I'm like, I would never do this in my personal life. Like, like if a friend, like, if somebody doesn't message you back, you don't start chasing them. And I'm running your own business turns you into a character that, you never saw yourself turning into.
Become a beast.
Yes.
The green beast.
The green beast.
You kind of, you hear yourself saying, fuck it, basically, multiple times a day, should I, shouldn't I? Go.
But I guess the challenge there is also, if you're always thinking one step ahead, which is the nature of business, that's something you have to do. How do you make sure that you also focus on the task at hand and execute that well without letting yourself be distracted by the next step?
Priority lists. You do what you need to do first.
Yeah.
Today, so with the current step, and you schedule the time to think about what's next once your priorities are ticked off. You have to prioritize today because that's what you're doing. But as long as you set that time aside where you've got a clear headspace, and again, it could be when you get into bed. It could be super early in the morning before your day starts. It could be on holiday. Controversial advice. For me, when I'm actually on holiday is the time where my head is actually the most clear, and I tend to think about what's next when you're just sitting and like you're relaxed and you can dream and fantasize. For me, that's my time to think about what's next.
It's time away and coming back with a clear head.
Yeah.
What will be on your mind tomorrow?
Oh God, the list could go on. Probably, how you guys enjoy the jars because you're going to get some in the morning.
Oh yes.
So I'm excited to hear your feedback and what your favorite flavour is.
I do have one more question actually. What is your shelf life?
7 days.
Okay.
We're extending it to 13 days next month.
How are you going to do that without
naturally? It's taken about 2.5 years
product development
to do it.
But you figured it out.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
2.5 years it took to do this.
I think you should come back on in like a year and we should review.
No, actually though.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jubilee, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This has been incredible.
Oh, this has been the easiest podcast that I've ever been on. You guys are really easy to chat to.
Good. I'm so happy.
Good. Very happy.
Thank you
to hear
so
that.
much.